Today, when India Today asked me to be part of this, I said, perhaps I used to ask questions for a living, and now people ask me questions. But when I was going through, firstly, thank you for having me here for this session. But when I was going through the panelists, I've taken a list of all the panelists who've been on stage yesterday, taken their ages, added it up, and if you add it up, it comes to 52. So the average panelist on stage expressing himself or herself is 52. Let's try and do it a little differently today, because you're not going to hear my opinion. I think we're going to hear some different opinions. They are 4 young boys and girls from 4 colleges in Bengal. So let's start by introducing Ujjan Ganguly from Jadavpur University. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Ujjan Ganguly, who's a student of English literature from Jadavpur University. Then we have the only lady on the panel, come Ujjan. Astha from Loreto College. She's a student of political science. You can clap a little louder. I see Mr. Puri is the only one clapping. Dinesh Da is also clapping. Astha. We have a young doctor with the most complicated Bengali first name I've ever heard. So we'll call him the young doctor in the making, Dr. Sain. That's S-A-I-N. Dr. Sain from National Medical College. And the fourth of our panelists, Dr. Sain. Second year you said, right? So doctor in the making. And the fourth of our panelists is Prithvi Raj. He's from St. Xavier's College. Okay. Prithvi Raj is a student of economics. Good. Well, till this morning, the format was that they were supposed to ask me questions about inside Parliament. Now, I promised India Today I will not use that expression inside Parliament more than 3 times in the program, because then they will accuse me of plugging my new book, which is called Inside Parliament, Views from the Front Row. That's one plug. Okay, so instead what we're going to do, I've been 15 years in politics. I haven't done a quiz show for 9 or 10 years. So today I'm going to play anchor. Okay? So for a change, you ask the questions, okay? Or I'll ask you some questions first. So for the first half, I'm going to ask them some questions and you guys do the talking. I think too many politicians and too many of us are talking and speaking to young people. We're not listening enough to young people. So the purpose of today is to listen. I won't speak much. Second half, okay? So here we go. What do you expect from your representatives inside Parliament? Who wants to go first? Okay, Astha.
Good evening, everyone. I think Article 84 of the Indian Constitution says that you just have to be 25 years of age to become a member of the Lok Sabha and 30 years of age to become a member of the Rajya Sabha. But it does not talk about the educational qualifications, which I think should be a primary requirement for you to become a member of the Parliament. So,
you think education is absolutely compulsory?
Yes.
Anyone on the panel who disagrees with this? You agree?
I would bring up a point on this context. When you talk about educational qualifications, there is a certain disparity that comes to your head. What are we calling educational qualifications? Is it just because you've probably read a couple of heavy-weighted books and got a degree for yourself? We need to understand that in a country like India, we need representation which sometimes goes beyond proper classified educational qualifications.
No, she brought up a very specific thing. Do you think there should be a minimum educational qualification for MPs? Yes, no?
Very basic.
Very basic means what? Class 2 is also basic?
A general awareness regarding...
No. She raised a specific... did you have a qualification in mind?
I think graduation at least.
You think every MP should be a graduate?
Exactly.
Okay. Dr. Sen, yes, no. Do you think every MP should... What's the minimum qualification?
No, I don't think they require qualification because chair makes the man.
Sorry?
The chair makes the man.
Right.
So I don't think qualification is really needed.
So you don't agree with her?
Yeah.
Okay. Ujjan?
Same here.
No qualification needed.
We are talking about...
Mike.
We are talking about a minimum qualification.
No, I'm saying, do you think a minimum qualification is needed for MPs? You're a young India.
Yes, a minimum education qualification.
So both of you
required.
think it's needed. What about doctor?
I say yes.
Okay, Prithviraj?
I agree it's needed, but I don't think we can go as far as graduation, considering the educational framework.
My own view, which I'm afraid is different from your view, I don't think, this is my view, I don't think you need a minimum qualification for MP. It doesn't matter whether you're class 2, class 3, you know, it really doesn't matter. My view, different from yours. Let's move on, what do you expect to your MP who you've elected to Lok Sabha or an MP from your state in the Rajya Sabha, what's the one thing you would expect from them? Don't give me 2, 3. At least the one thing you would expect your MP to do for you. Who wants to go?
I'll go.
Yeah.
I expect them to
By the way, these questions have not been given to the students before. This is kind of, I didn't want them to prepare, so they're speaking literally off the top. Prithviraj, what's the one thing you expect?
Honesty, integrity.
Honesty and integrity.
Yes, I think the most important feature a politician should have, considering the number of corruption charges and allegations coming up today, I think honesty and integrity are two things which we definitely need to see in politicians a lot more.
Okay, nice. Yes, Ujjal.
So I was reading the papers and I read that you talked about, in your book launch in New Delhi, you said how the opposition will jointly try to address the issues which the government has been avoiding for so long. And we can all agree that there is a lack of clarity which is revolving around the capital, not just due to the ghastly veil of smog that is hanging over the capital, but also due to a lot of vague stances taken on very basic issues. And you talked about this policy called Judge.
No, you answer my question. What's the one thing you're looking for?
Clarity. Clarity.
Clarity. You think, who is more clear now? The opposition, you think, is not clear with their narrative?
Not exactly, sir.
Not exactly?
We are expecting from each and every member of the parliament transparency and clarity to the citizens.
Clarity to the issues raised.
Yes.
Asta?
Sir, I think discipline is the most important thing which a parliamentary...
Discipline?
Yes, sir.
Explain
discipline
that in common...
the sense, the kind of language you use and your mannerisms when you are inside the parliament.
The kind of language?
Yes.
But we don't use any bad language in parliament, I promise you. At least when the cameras are off, okay, the kind of language we use even outside parliament.
Yes.
Okay, that's
and
interesting. Interesting.
And so, very ironically, the term unparliamentary language has been derived from the parliament, it seems. So I think our parliamentarians should work on that.
Okay, I will certainly try. Doctor?
Yes, the point I would like to add is they need to become more dynamic when it comes to the work. We have more than 500...
Now, what does dynamic mean?
Yeah, we have more than...
I mean, I can tell you all 780 MPs, when they walk into parliament, they don't only think they're dynamic, they think they're dynamos.
But then I think the 61 odd ones from West Bengal are more dynamic than the rest.
You really think so?
Yes.
We must clap for that, yeah. Very good. Okay, you said all. From the 42 in Lok Sabha and the 16.
In the Rajya Sabha, yeah.
We're more dynamic than anybody else. But that's, I could accuse you of being parochial in making that statement. Why are you being parochial to make that statement? What makes you say this?
Because whatever the national issues or the crises that have been brought up recently, I think only the state parliamentary people are like putting more effort to, neutralize the threat.
So, okay. Prithviraj, you were adding to that?
I would actually like to reply to what Ujjan said. I think that in a democracy, the purpose of an opposition is very important. But nowadays, the opposition, whoever it may be, has deteriorated into something which says, let's go right, if the party in power says, let's go left. Even if right means falling off a cliff, and left is the way to go. So I think it's important to take...
Okay, let me give you an example. Let me give you 2 examples. The government announced demonetization. The government implemented GST in a hurry. So the opposition opposed it. You think this is just opposition for the sake of opposition?
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes I think it is just becoming opposition for the sake of opposition, but under
Doctor?
No, I'd like to counteract that. No, it's not because of for the sake of it. For example, if you take the example of demonetization in GST, the Parliament has, the Trinamool Congress MPs have raised their voices against. If you see the changes, people have died standing in the ATM lines, or if you take the example of GST on sanitary napkins.
To be fair, not only Trinamool, all those 18 political parties together have, opposed demonetization. And Asta, you were saying something, sorry.
Yes, sir. I think opposition does not always oppose just for the sake of doing it. Taking into consideration GST or demonetization, I think the GST rates being cut down from 28% to 18% is also because of the continuous opposition that we as
Okay, thank you for giving the opposition some credit. I may get into trouble with this question, but doesn't matter, and it's not rehearsed. Okay, so any MPs, you can't mention one name, and that's mine, okay? And I'm not being pompous. Some MPs, doesn't matter which party, you guys look up to as, good parliamentarians. Asta?
I think one parliamentarian...
Asta, you can't have every answer first just because you're the lady. So, okay, go. Asta, go. Then we'll give it to everybody.
I think the parliamentarian I would look up to is Mr. Arun Jaitley because there was a debate in the parliament very recently on cow slaughter and how everybody gave a very communal touch to it. But he was the one who actually brought up something which people did not know, that is Article...
But Asta, you're choosing a parliamentarian, it's your choice, and I respect it, and Mr. Jaitley is obviously a very seasoned parliamentarian. But next time you vote for Mr. Jaitley as the parliamentarian who you like, and please continue to respect him, also check out how many bills, as the leader of the Rajya Sabha, he brought in as money bills to ignore the Lok Sabha and bring bills only into the Rajya Sabha. So many bills he brought under Article 110. I've even suggested in my book, Inside Parliament, that he should wear a jersey saying Article means 110. But anyway, Mr. Jaitley is somebody you look up to. Ujan.
So I don't need to look any further from home. When you switch on, say, star ABP Anand rather, and you look at this frame of probably a very boisterous figure of Arup Biswas walking towards the camera, or a very pompous Partho Chatterjee walking towards the camera.
Hello. We're talking about MPs you look up to in Parliament. Where are you going?
And then you're seeing this little lady, and she exudes such a very confident vibe.
But she's not an MP. Oh, but she was an MP for 23 years.
She was, exactly.
Okay.
And I feel...
So you're saying Mamta Di is the kind of parliamentarian you would want to see? She's been a parliamentarian
She's someone I look up to in a lot of ways.
in 23 years because she takes up... Why? What's the one reason you really look up to her?
Because she, as far as I've met her in person and I've felt from her, is a very human vibe that this state very much requires. She's got a mother's touch in whatever she does. And when she approaches issues, she's conscientious, she's emotional, and she feels it. And that is exactly what the Bengali soul needs.
She's aggressive too.
Well, Bengalis are too.
Okay. Doctor?
I would say Derek O'Brien.
No, you can't say it. Please don't embarrass
then
me.
if it's about,
Please. You choose somebody from the Congress party at least, so we get a nice balance. You know, I'm the anchor here, and I'm not like most anchors today who are completely skewed either this way or that way. I am trying to get a good... You've gone for the Trinamool Congress, Mamta Di. You've said somebody from the BJP, even though I have some serious... And the other serious issue I have with Mr. Jaitley, by the way, is he wants to stop with the Rajya Sabha. He only wants the Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha is very much part of this, right? Okay. Choose from another party.
Okay, like Ujan said about being...
Not Trinamool again, yeah. Okay. Otherwise, they'll say it's match fixing, yeah. Yes, okay, we come back to Prithvi Raj.
Shashi Tharoor.
At least you've gone to the Congress. Okay, good. Okay, tell us why. What do you like about?
Well, I like his progressive-mindedness, and I think he actively reflects a lot of the thought of the youth today. He's been pushing a lot for LGBT rights, and that's something I feel we can definitely look up to. He's championing their cause, and I think that's something very admirable.
Okay, so see, this is the good thing. I mean, this is the good thing. We have young people today who can look up to MPs from, different parties. Now listen, to be fair, I think a few MPs who may be misbehaving in Parliament, a few who give these bad statements, maybe 6 or 10, you may be having the same issue in your college. So you can't brand all 780 MPs as, there's a lot of serious debate which happens in Parliament too. Yeah. So would that be a little unfair, or why do you guys, make this overall thing that, all of us or many of us are not doing our jobs? Again, Asta. No, Asta. We've got to give the boys a chance.
I
just want, yeah, go ahead.
I think it's a question of...
One second. I have with me a colleague of mine who's not a first-time MP, nor is he a second-time MP like me. I think he's a 4-time MP. Dinesh Trivedi is here. Okay, Dinesh da, you've heard what these young people want from an MP. Okay, you've heard. What's the one thing you, as an MP, think that we owe it to young people like them?
I think we all owe the next generation at least a better environment.
Okay.
If you look at Delhi today, it's a sad affair that our international flight even can't land. So the basic stuff is health and education. Once you give an opportunity, they talked about there has to be a minimum qualification. Now for minimum qualification, we have got to give the opportunity to the people from the rural area. If they do not have the opportunity, then it will become a Harvard club, which certainly India doesn't want. It's a very dynamic country. And I must also tell you that our youth has really made us proud. Everywhere in the world we have youth. So one thing which we want is be fearless and for heaven's sake, come into politics.
Great. So be fearless, come into politics. Thank you, Dinesh Trivedi. Okay. Now, we promised you at the second half you can ask me some questions and I'll try and answer them. But before we get there, now some of you are becoming a doctor or you want to become a professor, whatever you want to become. Please do become and live your dreams. Now, if I gave you a choice in today's scenario to become a journalist in the India Today group or in any group, or a member of parliament, when you were, let's say, 35 or 37, okay, the average age of this panel is actually 20, but if you add me in there, the average age goes up to 27. That's bad. Okay, but that's still good. So, would you rather be a journalist or an MP? Who wants to take this? Or before that, yeah, Prithviraj, what do you want to really be when you're 15 years from now at the India Today Conclave in 2030?
Would it be too cliched to say I'd like to be happy?
Oh, isn't that lovely? Wonderful. He wants to be, give him a round of applause. You know, sometimes we don't hear answers like these. You know, I wasn't even expecting that answer. He wants to be happy. Yeah, you know, good. I'll answer this question also at the end. Yes, doctor?
I would say, like, if you would ask me probably, like, you would want to become a doctor or an MP. I would obviously first say MP because...
MP?
Yes,
but
I'll give you justification. I'll give you justification. When I'm practicing as a doctor, I can help only few people. But when I have the MP and I'm with the power, I have the power to help a lot of people. The entire nation in that case.
But you don't mind going into the well of the house and all?
Yes, pardon?
You have to go into the well of the house sometimes to stop parliament. Is that okay for you? As a doctor, you'll go and with slogans and is it okay?
If that helps my citizens, why not?
You'll do it?
Yes.
You don't mind going into the well and standing outside Gandhi statue with placards? You'll do it?
I told you, like, if it's for the betterment of my people, if I can help more people by doing any such measures, why not?
Asta, you agree? You answer your question?
So I would like to become a journalist because...
You'd become a journalist?
Yes.
Okay. The loudest cheers coming from the round table there.
So
I noticed nobody else is clapping, but the India Today 2 tables are clapping. India Today clapping the most loudly.
So there's a reason.
You know, yes. Tell us.
Yes, sir. Because if I am a member of the parliament, I have some party obligations. So even if I want to say something which is neutral, I cannot because there are anti-defection laws in our country. So I'll ultimately have to say what my party asks me to say. But if I'm working for the media, I'll be neutral.
Asta, hold it. Today's television channels, okay? You get a job in one of those 2 North Korean channels. I'm not going to mention the names. Do you think on those 2 North Korean channels, you can say whatever you have to say, or you have to follow the particular branding agenda?
Sir, I think you began this question by one thing that just because of a few loopholes, you cannot generalize stuff. So that applies to you as well, sir.
Okay. I must say this, and I must caveat, I'm doing this anchoring for the India Today group, they're not giving me a check. But yesterday, when Mamta Banerjee came here, she did an interview which started at 12:57 and it ran till almost 2 o'clock, 1 hour and 2 minutes. It was uncut, unedited, unplugged, and it was on television. So all of us who are still complaining that the media is not free, well, let's celebrate the India Today Conclave. We expressed ourselves. And I think as a politician, the more the media and certain media houses try to not allow us to express ourselves, so we must continue to do that. No use sitting down and cribbing about it. Yes. So journalist or...
So I don't think I need to choose
Asta,
here.
we forgot you.
No, she's
Okay, who did we forget? Everybody's on, okay. I'm out of touch anchoring, actually. Out of touch.
So I don't really need to choose, because if I become a journalist, doesn't mean that I can't become an MP later on.
Are shabash, okay. Listen, my friend. All the former journalists who are now MPs, okay, they've all changed their jerseys, okay? They used to wear white as a neutral, then some of them wore green, and now some of them are wearing deep saffron, okay? All of them. Not only Mantri, not only MPs, one or two have become ministers also. So that's a good policy you have, yeah.
So a quizmaster asks questions, so does a journalist.
Yes.
So why not become a minister after that?
Yeah, I'll tell you, okay. Okay, for the last 10 minutes or so, we're going to switch. I think you've had lots of chances. Now maybe you have some unanswered questions. So ask the question. I don't promise you I can answer it. But the good thing in Parliament is that if you're a minister, you know, in question hour, inside Parliament, whether your views from the front row or eighth row, the minister has to answer. And the minister gets some time to prepare. But you're going to ask me questions I don't have time to prepare, so don't make the questions very difficult. Bolo. Who wants to ask first?
So as
Prithviraj.
someone who has actually sat in the front row, what drastic changes
As somebody?
who has actually sat in Parliament, as someone who has been there,
Okay,
what-
this front row is actually nothing. The party puts you on the row, so I've been very fortunate that
manner of
Mamta Di and Trinamool have put me there, yes.
in a manner of speaking, since you have been in Parliament, what drastic changes do you feel need to be made to the way Parliament runs to make it more effective in its job of ushering change to the Indian people?
You see, Prithviraj, I don't want to give you 2 or 3, point A, point B, point C. I think in the current scenario, let me give you one suggestion, which I think we need to do. Otherwise, we're going to have Parliament decided by 1 or 2 people over breakfast in Ahmedabad, okay? I really think we should, you know, like suddenly whether Parliament is on now, no, Parliament will be on 10th of December, Parliament will be on 15th of December because somebody's election is on 12th. I think the one suggestion I think we could make is that it's time Indian Parliament has a parliamentary calendar. So you make a calendar for winter session, budget session and monsoon session. So it doesn't become a whims and fancies and you're peeping over shoulders and saying which election date is where. Having said that, now that this government has called Parliament inside Parliament from 15th of December to 5th of January, making it very difficult for a whole group of people to be there, but I'm willing to go to midnight mass on 24th of December night and go to Parliament even on Christmas Day, because we will debate the Prime Minister and his team on these issues of jobs, underperformance, GST, demonetization and economy. We are ready for a debate, not on any polarizing issue. Today, in fact, I heard there were at least 2 panel discussions which were sponsored by the ruling party. I don't mean they sponsored the thing, but every time we go into this debate of polarization, it only helps the BJP. We need to be focused. So that's the only one thing I suggest. Yes, parliamentary calendar is needed. Dr. Sen.
Okay, so my question is, so what are the possible...
How can parliamentarians stay more healthy? Tell us, maybe we need a gym in Parliament. We need a gym in Parliament.
I think they get
yeah.
enough exercise throwing slippers
I
and
love the
chairs
session
and
before this.
tables at each other.
Sorry?
I think
maybe,
they get
they
enough
have-
exercise.
Or in
throwing
that
things
case,
at
they
each
have a
other.
lot of...
They get enough exercise.
You get enough exercise. No, I'm not hassling you. I couldn't hear you. Oh, we get enough exercise.
Throwing things at each other in
No,
Parliament.
don't say that. No, that's unfair.
Maybe
You
it's,
know, nobody, listen, there's a lot of serious debate which happens in Parliament. Now, one joker goes and opens a pepper spray, you know, then you'll say we throw things at each other. Come on, there are 775, you know, yes, doctor. What's your,
Before the elections, the work that everyone does.
what's your question?
Oh, my question, yeah. My question is, sir, what are the possible measures that can be taken, you know, to prevent this or counteract this growing disparity that is going between the state government and the central government?
the growing discomfort between the, well, I think that's a very good question. So that's why the BJP's idea of shutting down the Rajya Sabha, and when the leader of the house says he doesn't want to, the Rajya Sabha is irrelevant, I think you should start there. The Rajya Sabha has a very important role. It's the Council of States, and if you read the Constitution and the debates of the Constituent Assembly, whenever the two houses are mentioned together, it is always mentioned as Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Okay? Yes, Astha.
So, sir, don't you think that we need a parliamentary committee in order to scrutinize the draft legislation so that the quality of the legislation is improved and we do not simply rush the legislation through the parliament?
Astha, let me tell you, legislation, the reality of legislation does not happen in the Lok Sabha, nor does it happen in the Rajya Sabha. You be rest assured, it happens in standing committees. And this is a new thing which was introduced only in the 1990s. The concept of standing committees, every MP is on a standing committee. There are 24 standing committees, and that's where the legislation is examined. Point one. Point two, if a legislation gets stuck in one house, you can always send the same legislation for a select committee between two houses. So that's where the action is. You people, please don't think that because Parliament is closed, business is not happening. These standing committees meet sometimes 3-4 times a month to examine legislation. So legislation is not examined on the floor of the House, it's examined in the standing committee. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, sir, I'll take the opportunity to contextualize my question first. When we talk about, in the lower house, calling attention motion or the question hour, we ask questions, the opposition raises points and aspects which the government might have ignored. However, we need to note that the people who are answering, the ministers who are answering these questions, are given prior notice of the questions that they will be asked. And they prepare those questions subsequently.
What's your question?
So, in a country like Denmark, in a democracy like Denmark, where there is a concept of in situ, on-site, open debate, where a minister is directly asked the questions without giving prior preparation.
Got it. Ujjwal,
I've
got it.
Don't we need to incorporate
there are two parts to this. There are two parts to this. The first is what the questions which happen in question hour. The questions which happen in question hour, MPs need 15 days to write their questions, then there's a ballot held. So for those questions in question hour, there's preparation. So because there's research to be done, the ministries are to be involved. So from that point of view, yes, the minister gets time. For the second kind of issues, for example, 0 hour, where you can raise up any point you want for 3 minutes every day. There, if a minister wants to reply, there is no preparation. So there are enough mechanisms within Parliament, okay? Anything fun you want to ask me? We got about a few minutes to go. Something fun. Now we had lots of serious stuff, inside Parliament, views from the front row. Okay.
Sir, talking about discipline again.
None of you buy my new book. I shall give you a free copy after the show. I will not give it to you on camera because otherwise, again, India Today will tell me I am plugging inside Parliament. Third and last plug. Okay. Yeah, something fun you want to ask me.
Sir, taking into consideration the discipline factor again, so don't you think that there should be an action taken against a parliamentarian?
Why are you asking me all this serious stuff now?
No,
action
sir, it's
taken
not
against...
serious. It's not serious. A parliamentarian who throws chairs or simply walks out during an important discussion.
When was the last time you saw a parliamentarian? You know, don't
pepper
paint...
spray.
No, well, listen, one pepper spray incident, now you're going to carry on now for 4 years to remind us. You know, do you think Dinesh Da will ever take a chair and throw it? I mean, Professor Shogoto Bose, a Harvard professor. I mean, do you think he'll take pepper spray? So, come on. I think you're being a little naughty and
agree.
Yes.
I think we can
Something
agree
fun.
Most of them don't walk out of Parliament because most of them never show up in the first place.
Exactly.
I have an attendance requirement in St. Xavier's College.
No.
Why don't we have one in Parliament which can be enforced?
Okay. I'll take your suggestion. I think Prithviraj has a good point. You guys are all clapping, so we think we don't go. But there's maybe one rule which we can think about since young people are talking about it. There's a rule in Parliament, if you sign the register, you can sign in and then walk out immediately. So maybe you want to think about 1 hour, 2 hours every day if you sign. Okay, that's a fair suggestion. You have some fun stuff to ask me?
Sir,
None of you have asked me about the quality of food at the buffet today.
So
but
we
you
do
asked me
know
about
it
the
is
quality.
subsidized heavily.
Subsidized?
Heavily.
The food?
Yes, in Parliament.
No, nothing like
Isn't
that.
it?
No. The food is... let's not go there. Okay. Okay, the food is not so good in Parliament. The food is not so good. Yeah. Anything else you want to ask? You guys are also
There's
like...
a political question I
So you
have.
Political question, okay.
So you
Yes.
cannot afford to be funny when you're discussing something about as serious as the Indian parliamentary system, because the funny part is done by the parliamentarians.
Interesting. Here's a young lady representing young India who tells us that we can't be serious when you're discussing inside parliament. This is my only suggestion to young India. For God's sake, let's not lose our sense of humor. One of the most fun suggestions today, fun sessions we had was from the stand-up comic. Where are you? Oh, he was absolutely brilliant, because I think one of the things we can learn from him is that we must learn to laugh at ourselves also. When you come up with an MP, you don't have to always be so serious. There's a big message flashing here. I'll tell you what it is. Yeah, you had last question.
Yeah, I think that we have to be funny, considering that most of the people sitting in parliament are jokers anyway. So, no offense to anyone. I said most, not all.
I think, as we end, thank you so much for... Ujjwal, bolo.
So the coat that Mr. Dinesh is wearing there, would you call it a Modi coat or a Nehru coat?
I'll tell you.
Can I answer what? You can call it a Dinesh coat.
Yeah. Okay. But I'll tell you one thing, which is good about the Trinamool.
Yes, sir.
When you're working with Mamta Di, doesn't matter about the coat you're wearing, we don't have any turncoats. Okay? Really hardcore. Let me tell you one more thing. Young India, I heard what you said about jokers. Please believe me. There is a lot of talent in Indian Parliament. There's a lot of talent. Believe me, there's a lot of talent. There are a lot of lawyers. There are a lot of people who come, and there's some serious work. So I know you said jokers and, a few people will clap, but there's a lot of serious work out there. My only request as one of 750 MPs is please remain positive. Please remain positive, there's hope. It's absolutely wonderful. I've had a ball doing this. Big round of applause for our 4 young students. All right. And after a long time and many years of television hosting, I'm getting a teleprompt here saying red and time's up. Thank you and good evening.